Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment, but if folks can move forward, there's a few seats a little bit more in the front, and also please turn off your cell phones.
Thank you. That's two things down.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lara Beaulieu, and I'm the Executive Director of English in Action. Welcome to our third Immigrant Voices, which we started in November 2017. I'd also like to welcome our live streaming audience here tonight. Thank you all for coming. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank Aspen Chapel and Aspen Chapel Gallery for inviting us here tonight. It's an honor to hold this event in such a beautiful space. And of course, I would also like to thank our sponsors for tonight, Alpine Bank, and Bart Johnson and Cheryl Velasquez of the law firm of Bois, Campbell, Rivera, Johnson, and Velasquez. So thank you to our sponsors. Finally, I'd like to thank our volunteers who brought food this evening and who helped out at the door, as well as our staff and board members. So at English in Action, we believe that we are stronger as a community when we are more connected. One of the ways that we work to create a more connected community is through matching volunteer tutors with adult immigrants one-on-one and in small groups. These tutoring relationships start through language, because learning English makes an enormous difference for our participants. It helps them to get better jobs, to become more engaged in the community as a whole, to earn citizenship, to go on to higher education, and to be more effective as parents in our community. Our students and tutors also develop strong friendships that we believe strengthens the fabric of our community as a whole. And this is increasingly important in a time when many communities are becoming divided. So, tonight we will have one of our students speak about her story along with other immigrant community members. But we have many of our tutors and students here in the room. If you are a student or a tutor of English in Action, could you please raise your hand? All right, it's a good portion of our room. If you are not already a tutor, we hope that you will become one. So the commitment is 1 to 2 hours a week, and you do not need to speak another language in order to become a volunteer tutor. Our students come from all over the world and are at many different language levels. What they need is exposure to language and your friendship and support. If you're interested, please speak to one of our staff members who are here tonight, or our board members, or go online to englishinaction.org. Your financial support also makes a big difference to our organization. Your donations at the door this evening will go to help support our program. And please consider making additional donations in the future, either tonight or online. So thank you again for supporting our work by being here tonight. An additional way that we help to create a more connected community is by sharing our stories and by listening to the stories of others with open hearts and open minds. Tonight is a celebration of the immigrant experience, and you will hear stories that I think many of us will be able to identify with. They are stories about family, about leaving home, finding our way, our own path, about our multiple identities, and overcoming challenges and injustice. I have been honored to hear the stories of the storytellers tonight. Some of them have spoken to a larger audience before, but many of them have not, and they're incredibly brave to share their stories with you tonight. So now I would like to welcome our curator, Alia Howe, and let me tell you a little bit about Alia. Alia Howe is a UK-born dance and performance artist. She has danced with the Jose Limon Dance Company, Kay Takei, Dance Teller, and Zakir Hussein. She taught at the State Ballet School in Athens, Greece, the Laban Institute, and the Lincoln Center Institute in New York City. She moved to the Roaring Fork Valley to raise her daughter 7 years ago and founded Under Alia's umbrella, which for 7 years has produced the Poetry Market, Writ Large, and the Salon. Alia's work has been featured by many local organizations. Her new work, Walls, will open at the Wheeler Opera House in October. Alia is thrilled to be part of Immigrant Voices tonight and grateful to English in Action for bringing this to our community.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, everyone from English in Action. I wish I had possibly been here only 7 years. I would be a lot younger. I came here in '96. But we, as humans, are a storytelling species. And I have read that a community without a narrative to tell doesn't survive very long as a community. Having a heartfelt narrative to tell makes the difference for an individual, bonds a family, a community, and a country. The secret sauce that holds a family, a community together, making us effective, resilient, and happy, is to develop a strong community narrative. Why, when I recited We the People, it made us all cry when my group and I became American citizens. And stories we shared, and as I have experienced sharing with the Writ Large storytelling series, reveal universal truths about life, about the world. And through stories, we see how very different people share the same experiences, values, and how human nature can transcend cultural and religious differences through sharing. Thank you again, English in Action, for valuing personal stories and building a community which listens. So Writ Large, as you're gathering, is a storytelling organization that supports and acknowledges the courage and challenges it takes to stand up and share something personal and revealing. It's one of the top 3 human fears, public speaking. And can you imagine getting up and sharing a story, a personal story, possibly in your non-native language, to an audience you really want to connect with, to a community you want to belong to, and to build connections and relationships for the rest of your life living here? I stand here bathing in the privilege of working with these storytellers, and holding their stories is an absolute treasured gift. Thank you. So before I begin introducing storytellers, I want to speak to you about being listeners and participating listeners. This is an audience participatory listening storytelling event. So please laugh and cry and groan and clap and let yourself respond spontaneously and passionately, like a child, like a heart with ears. And I'd like to practice that. So could I just hear a room full of laughter? Can I hear a yay? Yay. A groan. please feel free to express yourself. When the storytellers feel you, they just come more alive and more liberated in their story and support from you. Lastly, thank you for these incredible microphones and home here. It's been a long while since I have shared and spoken in a church. It's a treasure. And I'd be remiss in not mentioning Kylie Michelle, who was the original inspiration and underwriter of the Writ Large Storytelling series. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce or tell you a little bit about our first storyteller. Samuel Bernal was born in Mexico City. He believes every parent is a storyteller, so he started training himself decades ago as a journalist. He works in a magic box called radio, where he tells stories and sells airtime. He thinks airtime is one of the most poetic things to sell and the most capitalist. If you can sell airtime, you can sell anything. Samuel runs a multi-awarded radio station. Last year, they won the best radio station awarded by the Colorado Broadcasters Association with Tricolor. And this year, the best Facebook for a radio station. So let's put our hands together and welcome Samuel Bernal.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you, everybody. I always wanted to be a superhero. Blame Hollywood because of that. But when I was a kid, we used to have all these movies like Superman, and after you will go to see the movie, you will feel like you wanted to be like Superman, something like that. But I took it very seriously. For example, kids, don't listen to this, but when my parents were not watching me, I will clean the building where we used to live in Mexico City because I need to train myself to be a hero. I want to be a hero. So I will clean without protection or anything. And then I escalated. I asked my mother, who is here tonight. Thank you, Mom. She's visiting from Mexico. And I asked her to design for me a costume, a superhero costume that I could wear under the uniform to go to school, just in case something was necessary and, there was a situation. And she did. It was a brown because blue was already for Superman and red kind of for Spider-Man. So we're like, what color is original? It was brown, I remember. So I have my cape and everything. And after some time, I thought it was a good idea to have a sidekick, just like Batman and Robin. So in a very confidential meeting with my best friend of elementary school, I asked him to be my kick side hero. He was like, how do you call it? Kick side, yeah. Kick side. Sidekick, the opposite. That one. He was just my partner in justice, And I asked him, do you want to be? He's like, okay. But I told him it was a secret, nobody needed to know. Because, just like superhero, nobody needs to know this. It's like, okay. Big mistake. Who can keep a secret like that? 2 days after that, all the classroom knew about that. It was so embarrassing. And now, more than 30 years later, I enjoy when I go with my family to see a superhero movie. We really enjoy them, especially if the superhero is a woman. It's priceless when I see the eyes of my wife and my daughter, who I hear tonight too. Please, thank you for being here. When I see their eyes watching Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel, it's beautiful. And after the movie, they are empowered. They are reminded how powerful they are. And that's why I love storytelling, because I love empowering people. It's very important. And I also love to feel inspired by stories. And I think there should be more superhero where the archetype is the right word? Archetype was a woman. And I also wish there was a Latino superhero, right? Because we only have Nacho Libre. One time I saw That's not fair. One of my, Nicolas was saying like, well, you also have El Zorro. Well, he's not a superhero. He's just a hero, right? Like, it's superpowers. I don't know. Maybe in the future, Marvel or DC will have a super Latino, some kind of maybe immigrant who can destroy walls, right? Something like that. Thank you. I think also parents love superhero movies because we would like to be superheroes for our families. Let me tell you a story about that. I was born in Mexico City, and since I love storytelling, I became a journalist. And when you love something, you want to do it all the time. And if you do it all the time, then you get good opportunities. Lucky me, I was hired by an American company, so I moved from Mexico City to Colorado, and I was 30 years old, and I was very excited to move to a different country with different culture and traditions and people. I try always to be a good resident, be good at work in the community, and I used to collaborate for a Mexican newspaper, and one day I fell in love with a reader. She used to write so very beautiful tweets. You can fall in love with tweets, so like, be careful out there. She was a doctor writing very beautiful, and then I saw her picture, and I was like, wow. So we became each other fans. We loved storytelling. We were victims of our own traps. And so one day I told her, like, I love reading your tweets. I love to read your face and your hands every day, every morning. Please marry me. And she said yes. And thank you. I know I didn't say it quite like this, but it sounded good for the story, And then we started the immigration process, like a 2-year process for them to come here. And that moment, one morning, something happened that everything was different. Like, this valley was very different to me. I could see more than before. It was not anymore like just a nice place to live, but it was going to be the place where your family was going to live. So I started wondering, okay, where are we going to live? Where are they going to study? What happens if they get sick? And I started getting involved in the community so I could have everything ready for when they move here. And I started volunteering for a lot of organizations, Literacy Outreach, Catholic Charities, English in Action, which is a very good organization, by the way, one of the best in the Valley, being it. Become board member also for Mountain Family Health Centers, for Ross Montessori, because when you help, then you help yourself too, and you get to know better your community. So there was hardly an organization that would ask for help that I wouldn't say yes, yes, yes. And also at work, since my family was going to be here, I was going to need more money. So I started working harder. And after 1 year, and my boss, when we were in the annual review, he was like, wow, Samuel, like, look at this revenue increases. It's amazing. How do you do it? I'm like, well, I got a wife and 2 kids. So that's how you do it, to go up in sales. That's why I think it's very, very important that families are be able to stay together. But when you are an immigrant, thank you. I don't think there is a man more responsible than a man who has a family, because then you want to be a superhero. And just like when I was a child, I dream of America as the house of the superheroes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Our next storyteller, Hazel Chavez, was born in the city of San Miguel, El Salvador. She graduated from the University of El Salvador as a Doctor of Medicine in March 2009 and as an obstetrician gynecologist in January 2013. Hazel has been living in the beautiful Roaring Fork Valley with her husband, Gerson, and her son, Alejandro, since the fall of 2014. She studied English as a second language and public speaking at Colorado Mountain College. She also has been studying to get her United States medical license, and currently she is working at the Eagle Public Health Department as a family health coordinator. Let's put our hands together warmly and welcome Hazel Chavez to the stage.
I loved everything about my life in my native El Salvador. My life was peaceful and predictable. Everything was as expected, no surprises. And I like that. I like that because I am the kind of person who likes to know exactly what is coming. When I was 14 years old, I saw myself being a successful professional and having my own family by age 29. Yeah. That plan came to life when I graduated as a doctor of medicine at 26, and a year later I met my husband. We were working together at a hospital in El Salvador. He was the man at the end of the operating table, and I was the OBGYN performing a C-section. He was the anesthesiologist. I will never forget that cherished moment when I found myself glancing at his beautiful, shiny dark eyes. We dated for 2 years and got married in 2012. Of course, our son was born the next year. I was exactly 29, as expected. We continue living in El Salvador, enjoying our simple but meaningful life, until one day my husband was robbed. That awful experience was life-defining, and he made a choice to return to the land of his birth, the United States. I, too, decided to leave my home country, El Salvador, to keep the ties of my little family together. It has been the most difficult decision I have ever made. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? We moved to the United States 4 years ago, and it has become the biggest adventure of my life. The quiet life I was used to turned unpredictable. It has been exciting, but sometimes it has been overwhelming and has thrown me out of my comfort zone. Out of my comfort zone, I realize there is a person in my life, my role model, who exemplify how to stay strong and resilient. This person is my maternal grandmother, Adelina, who I called Mama Nina. Mama Nina didn't have an easy life. She was the seventh of 13 children in a low-income family who lived in a house built of clay and palm leaves. She didn't finish first grade because she had to work. But despite this, she learned how to read, write, and do simple math. As I told you, since a very young age, she had to work harvesting coffee at a plantation at the slopes of the Chaparrastique volcano in San Miguel to help her family. She told me that when she was harvesting, she would always look at the ground to try to find a treasure to help her family, to bring it to her papa and mama. She had that big and pure heart. She was also loving and caring, and her dream was to be able to do something big to help her family. And she eventually did it, and not just for her family, but for many people, when she became an advocate and altruist. In her 20s, she was still single, but has many sweethearts, as she was beautiful, honest, and hardworking woman. She finally fell in love and got married to my grandfather, Papa Toño. Papa Toño was the plantation owner's son. Marin put Adelina in a better economic position, but soon Papa Toño became a heavy drinker and pawned everything they had. She continued working even harder to harvest cotton and veggies. They were able to recover some lands. Then the civil war in El Salvador came, and their land was burned many times, forcing them to leave their house and go to live to the city. The person who was always working hard, making decisions, and overcoming difficulties was my grandmother. And despite everything, she always kept her heart open during difficult times. Mama Nina was also a big believer that education is the most valuable gift somebody can receive. She encouraged her siblings to send their children to school because most of her siblings were still living in rural areas and high school was located in the city. She told her siblings that their children can come to her house anytime for lunch, after school, or even to live. And that was how the family came on to be full of professionals. Her two daughters became a nurse and a teacher. The teacher is my mom. I became a doctor and my brother a lawyer. My aunt's children became a doctor, a vet tech, and a successful businessman. And now, my son is also inspired to become anything he wants. He's over there, he's just 6 years old, and he is already thinking about becoming many things. He says he is going to be president, doctor, farmer, pilot, and paleontologist. I say, yes, you can do everything. You don't have to decide or choose just one. You can do the 5 things. Okay, so with her big heart and wisdom, my grandmother was able to impact everyone's life. She is not alive anymore, but remains in my everyday life because she was an extraordinary human being, and she has been the person who has had the most positive influence in my life. She raised me and gave me all her love, patience, and loyalty. I still have many memories about her. Would you believe how much do I miss and love her? Yes. So I still remember those afternoons when after school, she and I would lie down and using chalk on the red, cold cement floor of her house, she would teach me letters and numbers. But she also taught me more valuable lessons, such as selflessness, compassion, empathy, and to advocate for people. And it is because of her that I came to this new country loaded with secret gifts I didn't know I have until it was time to use them. They have helped me to stay strong and resilient during intense and difficult and exciting times. During my life here in the United States, I have battled cancer, I have learned English, gotten my US citizenship, studied for the medical boards, volunteer, held down jobs, and along with my husband, I am raising our son. Thank you very much for listening to my story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hazel wanted you to know that part of what gave her the courage to get up here and share her story is that she wanted to honor her grandmother, Adeline, and all the women who have had empowering, positive influences upon their daughters and granddaughters. Thank you, Hazel. Next up, we have Krishna Thapa, born in Nepal, close to Pokhara in a rural village. He is the firstborn son of a Brahmin family whose parents were both farmers, though his father was away for long periods of time in the army in India. Krishna went to a government school for 5 years and started working at 12 years old. In Nepal, Krishna worked first as a farmer, later in restaurants where he learned English well enough to be asked to be a guide by European customers. This was the beginning of Krishna's career path as a tourist guide in Nepal, now an established tour guide leading both Himalayan treks and rafting trips. On meeting his beloved wife in Nepal, they had a crazy immigration journey with, I feel like singing the 12 Days of Christmas to this, with 4 tourist visas turned down, fiancé visa complications requiring a senator's intervention, and a smooth passage to residency status using a lawyer, to taking the citizenship test 3 times and passing when his lawyer interceded at some unfairness. He is so glad to have made it to this valley where he now lives with his wife, Felicia Trevor Gallo, and are the proud grandparents of 7-week-old twin girls. Let's put our hands together to welcome Krishna Thapa to the stage.
I want to check my audience first. Wow. Everybody looks so happy. Namaste. My name is Krishna. I'm from Nepal, Pokhara, in Kaski. In my family, I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. I'm the oldest son in my family. And we have a 2 farm. Two farm in my town, my family. One close to house, one is 20-minute down to walk to riverside. And we grow almost 4 seasons, growing corn, rice, and all kind of vegetables. And and one day, when I was around 6 years, I followed to my sisters in all the way to school. And my sisters and me went to school, and my sister went to in class. Then I hang out with a lot of children and meeting all friends. And in lunchtime, my teachers called me inside the office. And he tried to register my name. And he asked my name, what's your name? I'm Krishna. And another question was, how old are you? I don't know. We never celebrate birthday. And my mother never told me my age. So that day I just hang out and come down with my sisters. And when I come home, my mother was in farm. So my sisters just throw backpack and we just run in the town farm. Then come back with a lot of vegetables and potatoes and with backpack and put in the basket and carry. It takes like a 20 minutes to come home. And we start to help to outside for our buffaloes, cow, chicken. We try to put everything in. Then after mother, we start to cooking. And when Junior is ready, so we go, everybody went inside and sitting the floors and eat by hand. Then I asked my mother, Mother, I went to school today, my sister tried to register my name. Do you know how old I am? And my mother told me, I don't know. And because every year in April, we plant the corn. And she went to plant the corn in down farm. It takes like a 20 minutes to go down. And she work until lunch, until noon, and she feel nauseous. She feel like a stomach, like a problem, something, and she walked from the farm to a little bit up, and we have a beautiful big tree and big rock there, kind of ditch area, and she's just resting there, and I born there. Yeah. Then she put me in towels and bring it home. Then I went again in next day with my sisters to school. Then, did you bring your birth certificate? Teacher asked me, I say, yes, but not everything. And yeah, same thing. She asked me, I know your name, but how old are you? But my mother told me she went to plant the corn down in farm. Then I born. Then he just put my birthday is kind of randomly, April 7th. I know I get the month, but I didn't get the age. Then I went continue semi school until the 6th year. Then when I finish first level school, then I have to go another school for a high school for other town. It takes another 1 more hour. But my mother, she cannot offer me to go other school. So I was hanging out and helping two mothers in farm, working. Then one day my neighbors, he worked in Pokhara, the city, and he come for holiday. So one night he come to visit to our house, and we had conversation, we talk each others. And what are you doing nowadays? I said, I'm doing nothing, I just finished my school. So my mother told me, okay, so you can take to him to work in Pokhara, and he can support me some money for family. My other two brothers and sisters can go to school. Then I follow him all the way to house to wake up in morning and went to Pokhara city, and takes like 3 to 4 hours walking. And when I arrived there, I never been in my life in city, and I saw bus, car, and bicycle, and beautiful around the lake. And he's just walking, I keep looking, but I will always behind, and just running, catching him to arrive in restaurant. Then when he saw me the restaurant and my job, I was more surprised. I never seen cooking like a big stove and gas. And I went kitchen and just blowing in my mind. Then I started working, and around, they go quite late, sleep around 9 o'clock, but when home, I sleep when you dark, then go to bed. But there, they stay awake late until 10. Then I went to sleep, and I sleep in the floor with somebody, but I cannot sleep that night because I miss my brothers, sisters, and my family. And wake up early morning and start working again. Day 1, day 2, that's going continues. Then I know how to make the Western food like a sandwich, shake, and coffee, tea. Wow. I was proud of myself. Yeah, I can do it now, yeah. So then slowly, one day my boss asked me, okay, now you know how to do a little bit cooking. So now you can be in waiters. Now, I don't say no. I give a little smile. I say, yes, I can do it. Then I went and start working in waiters. And people, I know just a little English, just namaste, hello, how are you, what's your name, where are you from, that's it. Still I'm doing and waiters. Then one day I meet the two couples, they come for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 3 times a day and become friends. Then they are reading most of the time, listen music, and they come with binoculars. Then they point me like, hey, you want to see? Come. But I give a little smile and go close by. And I look at the binoculars, and first I see the there is beautiful lake in the round. Then I look at the lake, and there is beautiful like birds flying around, and jungle, and beautiful stupa. I saw from binocular. They are so close. It's far away, but I see so close. Almost I can touch that. And then I move slowly in mountain. We have a huge mountain like Annapurna regions. Then I see like over 8,000 meter mountain just close to me. I can touch. Then slowly move to in my town. Then when I moved to town, I see my down farm, and I saw my house, and I saw my neighbors, and I saw everything. Suddenly, I saw my neighbors and my uncle and auntie. And I never seen my family like a 6 month. I didn't meet them. I was excited to see my house and family. And then when I see them, I want to know about my mother and my sisters, my brothers. And I calling, hey, auntie, hey, uncle, how's my mother doing? But I know they don't hear me and they don't see me, but I saw them, and that was my really excited, and I'm super happy for them, see them. Yeah, this is the binocular break me, my breathing, like missing my family so close to me. Thank you, audience. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Krishna. It takes stories like this to remind me what I take for granted and how to look at things and practice things with an eye of a child, and to see the wonder in the simple everyday things. This story, Krishna, has been such a gift to me to listen, to hear it grow and go out to the community. Thank you. Our next storyteller, Amanda Castillo Macamant, started teaching at the Waldorf schools 7 years ago as an ESL and class teacher in Mexico. She enjoys sharing and inspiring her students with her bicultural heritage. She was trained at Antioch University of New England and has a bachelor's in environmental science, not silence. Amanda is not silent. She now teaches Spanish to all the grades at the Waldorf School on the Roaring Fork. Let's put our hands together and welcome Amanda Castillo Macamant.
I care about the way I look. Every morning, I wake up and I glance in the mirror. Once, twice, making sure that every detail has been taken care of. This is nothing new. Since I was a small child, I would spend endless hours putting outfits together, most of which I never got to wear. I guess my sisters and I have this in common. Vanity is something that runs in my family. Let me tell you a little bit about my family. We're quite the interesting bunch. This started a long time ago, in the 80s, when a young Mexican adventured to Nicaragua, full of dreams and hopes, and soon found himself falling madly, deeply in love for an American woman. Together, they formed a family and had 3 beautiful daughters. 3 daughters that could not be any more different from each other. I am the oldest. Dark skin, dark eyes, dark hair. I am the dark chocolate of my family. And I just look exactly like my father. Second in line came Mestley. She's the vanilla ice cream, the perfect dessert. Light skin, hair so blonde that it shines in the sun. Eyes deep blue. And she looks exactly like my mother. when we least expected it, came the third one to complete our family, the Sunday Mocha. She holds the best of both sides. She has lighter skin, green eyes, but dark, rich hair. Lupita. My parents raised us mostly in Mexico, but spending almost every holiday in the US. And as years went by, we somehow grew closer with my mom's family in the US, but knowing that our roots laid in both places just as strong. I've always cared about the way that I look, but I didn't realize how much I would be judged on it until I came to live to this valley a year and a half ago. Let me tell you how it was that I found out about this. It was an early morning on a Thursday when the chimney sweep came over to my house to do some work. He was over by the living room, and I was close by in the kitchen, just making some tea. The sacred silence of the morning was suddenly interrupted with a conversation that would forever linger within me. "So," he said, "do you work here?" I stared at myself. Bright pink fleece pajamas? I wouldn't be caught in this outfit at work. "No," I answered plainly. Curiosity had struck. Another question came. "So, what do you do for a living?" I was ready to answer, straightforward, when I realized his question was not completed. "So, what do you do for a living if you're not the cleaning lady?" Confused, overwhelmed, I said, "I'm a teacher." "Oh, you're the Spanish teacher." I nodded. "Yeah, I'm the Spanish teacher. Oh, the only thing I know how to say in Spanish is, 2 cervezas, por favor." My heart started sinking to the ground. In a valley like this, where a third of our families are Latinas, that's how much Spanish you need to get by? 2 beers, please? I excused myself from it and recluded myself in my bedroom, and have never known anything about this man. But this story lives within me. I repeat it in my head over and over, and I keep wondering, what is it about it that I can't just let it go? I don't want to carry it with me anymore. And then, one night, I realized what it was. It's because every part of me aches with the wish, the desire to do it all over again, to go back in time to that same morning. But this time, I wouldn't be naive. I wouldn't feel like a rug is being pulled under my feet unexpectedly. This time, I would know exactly what is coming my way. But most importantly, this time, I would be able to stand up for myself.
Hey, do you work here?
No, I don't. What makes you think that I work here?
Well, what do you do here if you're not the cleaning lady?
My parents raised me to believe that I could be anything in the world, and I chose to be a teacher. And in this valley, I wake up every morning, arrive promptly at 8 o'clock, and teach Spanish. I get to share part of who I am, my language, my traditions, and I am loved and cherished by a humongous group of children. I couldn't be more lucky to be a Spanish teacher.
Well, how come your English is so good?
Well, first of all, thank you. I love compliments. But second, I grew up in a bilingual household, just as many kids in this valley. And just because I am brown, that doesn't mean that my English can't be as good as your English just because you're white.
So, what did your parents tell you you could be in life?
They showed me that I can be anything that I want.
Wow, that's really different. My parents didn't tell me that they believed I could be anything, do anything, even if I put my mind to it and worked hard. I apologize for making assumptions based on your appearance, your skin color. Not only will I not do this again, but I will correct others making similar assumptions. I am sorry, Amanda.
Thank you.
Last up, we have the man of this house, Nicholas Vesey, has been the minister at the Aspen Chapel since 2014, having come to Colorado from England. He is the author of 2 books, Developing Consciousness, a roadmap of the journey to enlightenment, published by O Books, published in 2011, and Living the Life Force, published by Ozark Mountain Publishing in 2019. Nicholas has been committed to a path of personal transformation for 40 years, exploring the relationship between consciousness and spirituality through all the great wisdom traditions. His passion is to enable people to find their own paths to understanding the great mysteries of life, and to that end he gives talks here in the chapel every Sunday. Nicholas lives in the Roaring Fork Valley with his wife Heather and 2 children, Samuel, age 15, and Jessica, age 13. Let's put our hands together to welcome Nicholas Vesey.
Well, I think that I'm a traditional immigrant. I came to this country for religious freedom. Just like all those years ago, the Pilgrims came. I was a minister, a vicar it's called, in Norwich, and I'd been in the same church for 14 years. Now, if you're a priest or a minister, you know, 3 years is too early to go. 7 years is about average. 14 years, you're lucky. And 21 years, they want to get rid of you. So I'd been there 13, 14 years, so I thought, well, you know, we better think about what we're going to do next. So myself and my wife went off to a hotel, and we thought, well, you know, where should we go? I'd worked a little bit in America before. I'd spent 3 months in Albuquerque. And so I said to my wife, you know, what do you think? What should we do? And she said, I'd like to go somewhere airy. So I said, well, let's look at America then. So I looked at the American Episcopal website, and third down was Aspen Chapel. This is like spiritual internet dating, this is. So third down was Aspen Chapel. So I said, what about Aspen? And she said, that sounds great, yeah. So literally we looked down, I recognized a few speakers that had been at the chapel, and I thought, right, so anyway, 2 phone calls and a Skype interview later, and we were flying to Aspen on interview for the job here. I told my children, who were aged 10 and 8, that we were going on a skiing holiday, and Dad was going to have to do a bit of speaking in a church at the same time. So we arrived here, and the second morning, and we woke them up, and we said sort of, how do you fancy living here? And they looked totally shocked. You know, we're going on holiday, and their dad's saying, would you like to live here? So I said, would you fancy seeing a few schools? So we went off, first of all, to community school, and my wife and I loved it. You know, there was a papier-mâché whale that had been made in one of the big classrooms. There was craft everywhere. Everyone had beards. There was you know, they talked about the nature of education and bringing out your inner self, and, you know, everything was down on the floor and all that sort of business. And we just knew that the community school was for us and that our children would really enjoy it. So we were driving down that Woody Creek Road, and suddenly a voice came from the back of the car. Dad, if you think we're going to go to that school with that bunch of hippies, you've got another thing coming. So we went off to the elementary school, and there were banks of computers all the way down there. Dad, this is where I want to go to school. And it totally sort of sold it to them. We were off the job in March. And really then, we started to go through the whole immigration process. We had to go to the embassies. It wasn't till November that we actually managed to get visas to come here. I could only get what's called an R1 visa, which meant that I was able to work. My wife only had an R2 visa, which meant she couldn't work at all. So we came here with that. And, it's been interesting because, it is a difficult journey as an immigrant here. We had to go down to Grand Junction. The children had to be fingerprinted. We all had to be fingerprinted. We had to be interviewed. The endless sort of visits to Homeland Security. And, it makes you very unsettled. In the last 9 months, we've had to move 5 times as a family. And again, the children, they want a place where they can put their pictures up. They want a place where they can paint their rooms. And so it's been difficult, still is difficult, trying to settle, as a family in the valley. Having said that, I feel so at home at the Aspen Chapel. I said at the beginning that we'd come here for religious freedom, and we had. Because in England, when you're a priest in England, the head of the Church of England is the Queen. And when you're a priest in England, when you're ordained, you have to swear allegiance to the Queen. They all say they've got their fingers behind their backs like that, with their fingers crossed. But you still have to swear allegiance. And there's this relationship between the church and state in England, which is really that the church is there to prop up the state, to say, yes, these people are doing the right things. This system is right. And it goes to the point where they say, yes, 1914, go to war. This is the right thing to do. And 1945, go to war. And so the church and state have a really, insidious relationship. And it comes right down to the actual theology of it. In England, really, you've got to tell the story. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus, came to save us from our sins. He's crucified, rose again. That whole narrative that is there in that Christian tradition is the same narrative that the state and the Queen and everybody else upholds. So if you vary from that narrative, if you start saying, no, this is really about the nature of consciousness, this is about, the open-heartedness, this is the central gospel that Christianity is an Eastern religion. If you start going down that route, then you're just on the marginal side. You're tolerated, basically. So you really have to go down the line with it. But here, you can see we don't have a cross or anything. We have a Trinitarian mandala here. Our roots here in the chapel are in the Christian tradition, but our branches are here to embrace Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, all the great wisdom traditions. You can come here, you might hear a reading from the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching, the Quran. All those wisdom traditions are where we can develop wisdom. So I've really felt a sense of freedom in terms of coming here. And it feels a very traditional movement to be able to come here and really express my heart. Now, if you're interested, 9:30 on a Sunday morning. Only till 10:30. We know you need to get out on the slopes or to the hikes. It'd be lovely to see you there. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, that brings our evening of storytelling to a close. So let's put our hands together and welcome the storytellers back up to the stage. Thank you, thank you. Now, there are refreshments and drinks downstairs. Please please make your way down there. The storytellers will be down there too. If you have any questions of the storytellers, please don't hesitate to ask, find out more about Aspen Chapel, and sign up to be a mentor with one of the staff members from English in Action. Thank you again for coming out tonight. Thank you, storytellers.